Make a life for myself. 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 Make a life for myself.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all over the world, we're going to turn that music off. My name is Brandon, aka Rags to Riches, aka the CFO, CEO, all that jazz. You guys know what that's all about. All right. The real question right now is, why are you here right now? Do you have nothing else better to do? Let's check chat. JD Hex, DJ Dougie, Hexagon, what is up? What's up, y'all? DJ and Dougie, Bear Man. Dude, we might sing the Bear Anthem today. Y'all want to do the Bear Anthem? We'll do the Bear Anthem later. Hookshot, okay, let's roll. Hexagon, I want my wrench rags. Hexagon, what did I tell you, man? You're not getting, I mean, I can't give you a wrench. It's up to my admins, and you have to figure out how to. So if you really want one, you'll go after it. You'll make it happen. You'll press in. Facing reality. Boom! What's up, dude? Crypto Mario, hi all. Nate Smith, what is up? Chaz Town, The Truth, Nut the Butt, Rags, Terrafin, what the? Come get me, aliens. Crypto is no longer high risk to me. Investing in the dying legacy system is the new high risk. And guys, I would say that most of this stream is going to actually be about probably the bigger picture here. I mean, we'll go over USDC. We'll go over exactly what happened in detail. But we need to talk about like the bigger picture here. Terrafin, yep. Nico Collard, Pulse Bitcoin baby, and then Rag says, guys, new rule. If you want to shill other projects on this stream in the chat, you have to say something bad or rude about me first. Terrafin, Tribal Sounds, what is up? Rich Liberation, what is going on? Texan Bullish, outstanding. Sup Rags, yes, I'm here because I have nothing else better to do. Hex Hodl, my number one nemesis. Why am I the 10th like? Why are you even liking this stream? I don't get it. Crypto Pez, can't believe I'm watching Rags again. Let's see if he says anything useful this time. Hello, Hexicans and Texcans. Guys, how about that Hex? Pumping, pumping, pumping. How about that Tex? Pumping. All right, Crypto Server 369, JB. Yep, yep. Another glorious day in Hexco. We got a lot of people here. All right. Here's what we're going to do, guys. We're just going to get into it. I'm not going to waste your time. This is a Sunday. I typically don't stream on Sunday, but this needed to be talked about before tomorrow. We're going to talk about the fallout. We're going to talk about all the implications. We're going to talk about stable coins. I'm just going to try to get into it with you guys, and we're going to go from there. So, unless you're living under a rock, which some of you might be living under a rock, I don't know here. Let me go here. We're going to go share, and let me move my viewer over. All right. Put this up. Cool. Okay, so unless you guys were living under a rock, there were some scary, scary times this weekend. A lot of people freaking out. We'll go down to 4 hours here. This is the USDC chart. Now, USDC is a stable coin. USDC is understood to be one of the most, I guess, trusted stable coins out there, right? And what we saw was a completely unprecedented event. We saw USDC absolutely crashed. In fact, I think this was all the way down to 82 cents per USDC. This has major implications. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and just tell you guys right now, I think we're going to be okay tomorrow. The real question is, this stemmed from the system that we live in that is non-crypto. So if you see FUD about cryptocurrency, specifically, I saw something by Peter Schiff, who took this opportunity to trash crypto, I think, just to get social views. But here's the thing. This stemmed from the financial system that we live in. This stemmed from the system that is destroying average families all across the Western world. And quite frankly, if not now, in the future, for any other country or any other state that adopts centralized banking, okay, fractional reserve banking. So I'm going to go into why this happened in detail here. Let's check this chart. Let's check the DXY. One interesting thing about the DXY that we noticed. Let me go in the weekly here, and I'm gonna show you guys here a chart about this in a second. But every single time you have interest rates increase, why does the US dollar, the value of the US dollar, increase? Why? It's because, actually, in this case, quantitative tightening, they're pulling money out of the system. When you pulled money out of the system based on the laws of supply and demand, your dollar goes further. That's really, really good for you and me, but it's really, really bad for Wall Street, and it's really, really bad for the Treasury. Okay? And so what you're going to see is the official word on MSNBC and CNN and Fox and all these places is deflation is a really bad thing. Now, there are reasons why deflation can be bad, but it's really, really funny to see that when they actually rug the economy, the value of the US dollar goes up time and time and time and time again. All right. All right. So the first thing we're gonna kind of get into this, stable coins got absolutely obliterated this weekend. Absolutely obliterated, top to bottom. Now, why? One of the reasons is, in terms of a hierarchy, okay, in terms of a stablecoin ecosystem, at the tippy top, which is the closest connected to the inflation that the federal government divvies out, and I'm going to tell you why. The tippy top, you have USDC. Then you have all these satellite tokens, okay, and there are lots of different types of tokens, right? You've got stable coins that are fiat backed. You got stable coins that are commodity backed. You've got stable coins that are crypto backed assets. You've got algorithmic backed stable coins. So all of these sorts of stable coins in some manner or form are pretty much connected to the top by USDC. And USD, they're collateralized with USD, some of these USDC. And even the algorithmic backed stablecoins, sometimes they have reserves of USDC just in case they need to shore up their peg. So when USDC fails, USDC catches a cold, everybody else catches COVID or the flu, and everybody dies. That's kind of what this looks like. This is kind of what happened, and we saw this. Now, this is not, in my opinion, a complete failure of the crypto system. This is a complete failure of the banking system. And it is actually a contagion that spread to crypto. Okay, regardless of what you're going to hear from everybody. So what exactly happened here? USDC is a stable coin that is 100% collateralized with cash, and it's collateralized with US Treasuries. All right. But before we get into that, we got to understand what happened with Silicon Valley Bank. All right, because that's pretty much the basis of everything. And we can go back a little bit further, and we will. So what happened to Silicon Valley Bank? If you go back to 2020 and 2021, the tech boom, the bank received a massive volume of deposits, all right, which invested into long-term treasury bonds while interest rates were low. Now that interest rates have risen, the market value of those treasuries is substantially lower than what the bank paid for them. So not only did the bank have to sell those assets at a loss recently, but it also experienced excessive deposit outflow. So what's the problem with excessive deposit outflow? We're going to break this down. I tweeted this yesterday, and we're going to break that part down because it's important to understand that before we move on. So you got to understand what fractional reserve banking is. What I just told you was there are a massive amount of deposits, and then they use those deposits to invest in treasury yield. So fractional reserve banking is what they participated in. And like I said yesterday, it's going to be something you're going to get familiar with in the coming weeks. And banks follow this system to try to create money much in the same way, like I posted yesterday, that counterfeits create money. And here's how it works. Customer deposits money in bank. That's step one. The bank is only required to keep a fraction of the deposited money on hand. What happens to the other money that was deposited? A small portion of the deposits are actually used to create actual lending products. So a small portion of those deposits actually are used to create products. A small portion. We're talking like 5-10%. A vast majority of that money is actually used. So you deposit your money. A vast majority of that money is used as collateral to get access to more capital. The argument is that fractional reserve banking frees up credit and lending to create a more robust and frictionless economy. So, but what's the trade-off with that, right? So, you know, the bank has maybe $100 million worth of deposits. It's a small bank. $100 million worth of deposits. They take maybe $10 million of that, create some local programs, lending programs, create some cash flow off of those deposits. But the rest, let's say 90%, they take that 90% and then they go and they get a loan. Okay, so they use that as collateral to get maybe a 10x loan. So instead of $90 million that they have, now they have $900 million. And they can use that money in all sorts of ways. They can use that money to scale out personal loans. They can use that money for, some companies are mortgage companies. They can use that money. Credit card companies can use that money in that way too. There's all sorts of things that can be done with this. So what's the problem? What's the issue? If there's a catastrophic failure at the top of the bank food chain, okay, all of the smaller players that have deposits that exceed the reserves, and when businesses and individuals come knocking for their money, there is no money to give. So just imagine this, okay? You have a small-time bank that basically takes 90%, or let's say 50% of that money that they have on deposit, and they use that as collateral, and they leverage up to get a 10x loan, and they want to use that money to be able to create products and services off of. Well, the bank that issued that money, essentially, let's say that something catastrophic happens to that bank, there's a run on that bank, all the money's gone. They made up money out of thin air. The money that is given to the banks in exchange for the collateralized deposits is imaginary. It exists in the form of receipts or IOUs. So the money doesn't truly exist. All right. So when a customer, or when a news organization, or when a hedge fund starts kind of raising the flag, hey guys, this bank's in trouble here. They don't actually have the money to cover those deposits. There's a run on the bank. The money that is in deposit gets cleared out and everybody else is left dry because that money that they created was imaginary. The only real money is the money that Fred the carpenter deposited in the bank, his life savings, or the money that Lexi the hairdresser deposited to cover payroll. Who gets screwed? Everyone except the bank and the government. Why is that? Banks have no moral backstop because the government insures deposits of up to $250,000. So imagine this, imagine that you had unlimited lives and you could do whatever you want. Okay. Some people would be good, but there would also be quite a few people who are not good. They do whatever they want because they know they could respawn. And that's kind of what's happening here. Banks know that they can respawn. So they're not going to make the decisions that are in the complete best moral and ethical interest of their customers because they have somebody that can bail them out if things get weird. And we've seen that time and time again. That is that fosters massive amounts of greed in the human heart. And just because somebody's, some of the most greedy people are some of the people at the top. Not everybody, mind you. I'm not turning into a Marxist or socialist, but I'm just saying that human behavior is human behavior. And in a long enough time frame, if everybody is getting kind of crooked, then it's going to be a whole lot easier for somebody to justify in their brain to be crooked as well. So it's really, really screwed up, okay? They get a bailout. Those deposits go the way. They know they have FDIC. Now, is it 100%? No. It's $250,000 per deposit. Is that 100% of the money they're going to get back? No. They'll probably get back, SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, when absolutely wrecked. They'll probably get it back like 50% of that money. So somebody's going to get hurt. Now, the depositors are the primary people. The creditors are the secondary people that will get that money back. So the government takes every dollar from you. Okay, so this is the insidious part. Not only do they back the banks and you lose your money and you don't get all of it back necessarily, you get up to $250,000 per account. Not only that, the government takes every dollar from you every single day. They run a deficit with the money that you've given them, okay, as tax dollars. Then they tax you more while printing money out of thin air, devaluing the actual money that you didn't give them. They tax your income, they tax your death, they tax your purchases, they tax your profit, capital gains. In some countries, they're starting to tax your carbon now. They tax your property, they tax your house, they tax your car. All right? It's kind of weird. It's a screwed up system that we live in. All right? And kind of it tracks back. It tracks all the way back to no checks and balances for the Federal Reserve. No checks and balances for Congress. And guys, this isn't the first time in history that this has happened. This has happened many, many times in history. In fact, we don't learn from history because it continues to happen over and over. For the first time, we do have the opportunity. To push back a little bit, though, because we have blockchain. We'll get into that. Jerome Powell. Guys, if you don't know who Jerome Powell is, look him up. He's the head guy at the Federal Reserve right now. Jerome Powell recently stated that he doesn't understand why or how crypto has any underlying intrinsic value. This blew my mind. I'm sitting back and I'm like, man, this blew my mind. So this would be my rebuttal to Jerome Powell. It's trustless if done right, permissionless if done right. There's no middleman if done right, and the immutable code is present if done right. And the code is something that's predictable. That's what's very important about a financial system. It needs to be predictable. I've said this many times in the past. If you're having to rely on a small group of, like a chairman and a bunch of Federal Reserve governors to make the collective decisions of, they're trying to replace the collective decisions of millions and millions and millions of people working with a free market. When you're doing that, there's no way that you're smart enough. There's no way that your brain has the computational power to outsmart the market. And they're playing with fire every single time that they make these huge decisions for the economy. And Congress is doing it too. Now, why are they doing it? It's because it's congressional heroin. The ability to print money. The ability to buy favor. The ability to go to war with no accountability. The ability to do all these things. All right. And we're starting to see it trickle down. Here's how you know it's really bad, folks. Here's how you know it's really bad. Because it's not really being reported on the propagandist government channels. The CNNs, the MSNBCs, etc. Not in a big way. If they're not reporting it, there's a problem. So, why is blockchain cool? Code that people will know operate the same way every single time. It's public. It's out there. Predictable finance. Very little human error in this, if done right. The world, in my opinion, is going to rally around DeFi eventually. Governments are going to be created based on new digital monetary systems because we don't have to put up with this garbage anymore. We have the technology not to. And if you look back in history, there are many, many governments and movements that rally behind the raping and pillaging of people. Financially. Things change quick when you start screwing with people's money. This is what happens. And right now, you know, if you think that they have this under control, I'm going to tell you right now, they gosh darn don't. I would be cussing, but it's the Lord's Day. All right. So, Silicon Valley Bank. All right. Now that interest rates have risen, the market value of the treasuries that they purchased are substantially lower than what the bank paid. They sold those assets at a loss. They also experienced excessive deposit outflows. So we talked about it. Banks aren't required to keep a one-for-one backing of their deposits. They're not required to keep that. So if a bad financial system occurs and everybody comes to the ATM or to the bank to pull money out, at some point there's just no more money to give out. All right. As a result, Silicon Valley Bank announced a plan to raise over $2 billion in capital. But it was unsuccessful in raising the capital it needed and scrapped those plans. All right, so it's kind of a weird situation. It's like if you're Silicon Valley Bank and you're just playing in the same system that everybody else is playing and you're playing by the rules, but the system's broken, eventually it's kind of like Russian roulette. You're going to get popped. It's going to be one of these banks that roll around in that chamber. You're going to get popped. And these guys were the ones that got popped. Now, here's the problem. It's hard to reach out for help in these situations because you as a CEO know that this whole system is just hanging on by a thread anyway. And what's crazy is they reported, I think they reported $250 billion in profit 2 quarters ago. Just shows you how quick this can just evaporate in the system that we have. But you can't ask for help because if you ask for help, the bank that you call up or the, investment firm that you call up or the hedge fund or whatever, the people that you call up, you know that as soon as you get off the phone with them and you've told them that you're having a little bit of a problem, they're calling all their buddies up and boom, it just spreads like wildfire. Bam! And all of a sudden money starts coming out of your bank like crazy. Because it's fear. It's based in fear. This is kind of what happened. They tried to reach out for help. They tried to find some people to kind of bail them out or shore them up a little bit. And then all the hedge fund managers and buddies called this person and that person, and the bank got cleared out. You guys have seen. Now, here's something important. This is the biggest bank failure, apart from a bank in 2008. Major bank. Washington, what is it? Washington Mutual or something. $240 billion worth with this one. Huge. And I bet you, I'm just going to check. Let me just check here real quick since you guys are on with me. Yeah, it's crazy. This is 2008 status, folks. 2008 status. In terms of the magnitude of what happened. People just aren't reporting on it. They don't want to make the administration look bad. Oh well. So here's the thing. What's going to happen with this? What are we going to start finding out tomorrow? We've had some clues. We've had some information come out on this. All right. When they get into this situation where the amount of deposits exceed the amount of reserves, the FDIC steps in. If you guys aren't familiar with the FDIC, they're the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp. And basically they're the people that insure these banks and insure these depositors to try to create some semblance of trust in the system. The centralized, basically a command economy system here. So what are some scenarios that are going to happen? It's not completely clear what's going to happen next. We're going to find out a whole lot tomorrow. But here's a couple scenarios. One possibility is that the government steps in to remove uncertainty around uninsured deposits by making everyone whole and then liquidating the remaining asset portfolio to recoup the funds from SVP. Now, what's the situation about that? Okay, well, if that happens, then there's about a $3 billion shortfall with USDC. Of that $3 billion, they might get a quarter of that or a half of that back. Coupled with the fact that Circle makes about $1.5 billion per year in fees. Okay? And they have, I think that they're, obviously it's in their best interest to kind of shore up that gap. So I don't think we're going to have any issues with USDC come Monday morning. Now, what are some potential issues? We're going to talk about that. All right, what's the second scenario? Another scenario is the white knight scenario. All right? The white knight scenario is where like a Berkshire Hathaway or maybe a JP Morgan steps in and bids on SVB's assets and kind of bails them out that way. A more market-based approach. Now, don't know if they're going to do that or not. Have no clue. That's an option. I don't think that that's going to happen. But what we have, guys, if you notice this, and I'll share my screen here. Let me find what I want to share. This is important to know. This announcement was just made. Let me zoom in so you guys can see it. So this is there's a board meeting that was called, a closed board meeting from the Federal Reserve. All right, so this basically just came out on federalreserve.gov. Advance notice of a meeting under expedited procedures. It is anticipated that the closed meeting of the Board of Governors, this is tomorrow, of the Federal Reserve at 11:30 a.m. on Monday, March 13th, will be held under expedited procedures as set forth, not open to the public. So I got curious. I said, you know, they listed these expedited procedures are set forth in section 261B7 of the board rules regarding public observation of meetings. So I said, all right, what type of precedent is this? Let's go check this. So I went to Cornell Law School. If you go to 261B7 in the Federal Reserve System, Subchapter A, Board of Governors, the rules regarding public observations of meetings. All right, meetings closed to public observation under expedited procedures. Since the board, okay, I want to make sure, I'm just going to skim through all this to make sure I get it. Following examples, okay. So here are the following types of examples that would justify this sort of meeting. The following examples are types of items absent compelling contrary circumstances will qualify for these exemptions. What's the exemption? Not having a public meeting. This is closed down in a big way. Matters relating to a specific bank or bank holding company, such as bank branches or mergers, bank holding company formations, or acquisition of an additional bank or acquisition of de novo undertaking of a permissible non-banking activity. So now we're kind of getting a picture as to why they would be meeting. Well, we had the FDIC have to take over. So they're probably meeting to discuss one of two things. They're going to discuss whether or not they're going to bail these folks out, which it doesn't seem like they are as per Janet Yellen, but they might. Or they're going to discuss an existing company out here, which is the white knight theory. They're going to discuss that company coming over and taking over the assets and making people whole. So this is kind of, we're digging in to understand what's happening here. We're digging in to understand what's happening. So that's why they're meeting tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of that, if they make any announcements. I don't know. But another very interesting thing to talk about here, guys. Very interesting thing. And this goes pretty deep here too. They have to know that this is a major issue. A major bank out west failed. And I'm going to talk about this. This isn't just this bank that failed. This bank represented the deposits of many others that had their money in their trust shored up in this bank that are now wrecked, for lack of a better word. So this was a pretty good post by Graham Stephan that kind of outlines some of the stuff. And I'm just going to kind of scroll through this. I wanted to make a chart on this, but I was a little bit lazy. Check out the other companies that lost out because of this, folks. Etsy, Bill.com, Shopify, Pinterest, Payoneer, iRhythm, Lending Club, Quotient, many pharmaceutical companies, many crypto firms. BlockFi lost out to 227 million. The hits keep coming on BlockFi, dum-dums. It's not just startups, it's smaller folks in the region. It's the California vineyards that relied on SVB for credit lines during, planting season. There's exposure from companies in the UK, Canada, Singapore, many others. 180 UK tech companies have sent a letter to Chancellor Jeremy Hunt to intervene, saying the loss of deposits could set back the ecosystem for 20 years. Major issues that are not being reported on because they're trying to cover up for the administration in this horrible economy. Roblox Corp had $150 million of its $3 billion in cash and securities in SVB. Rocket Lab USA deposited about $38 million, 7.9% exposure. You want to talk about centralized crypto banking going down last year, an absolute murder scene. Guys, this is what starts the other stuff. So yes, I think USDC is going to be okay tomorrow. But if you have issues with Melon, if you have issues with BNY, if you have issues with companies with BlackRock, this and that, USDC, I think they had their cash reserve split, or their total reserve split between 7 banks. If you have another one of those 7 banks fail, yeah, USDC is in big trouble. And they're going to blame it on crypto, and they're going to blame it on Jerome Powell like we saw last week. If you saw me stream last week, you had old Pocahontas, that's her name, Elizabeth Warren. She stood up there in front of the committee. Jerome Powell is testifying, and she's blaming all this on Jerome Powell. And Jerome Powell's like, bruh, I'm trying to put the fire out. All right? Trying to put the fire out here. It will be very interesting to see if the Federal Reserve, after seeing a major, this had to rattle them. You guys, make no mistake about this. These people are rattled right now. It had to rattle them to see that a bank of that stature collapsed. Now they're going to meet up with each other. And I guarantee, I'm not going to guarantee it. I'm not going to guarantee it. But I'm going to say this. Is 4% inflation going to be the new 2% inflation? This is quite possible. Now, why is that? I've always said, guys, this is a race. They want to pump the interest rates to break the back of the economy in the fastest way possible so they can turn the money printers back on, because that's what keeps this economy afloat. It's the money printers. So how long can they hold out? They're starting to get pressure from Democrats. I think that the Democrats might even try to vote Jerome Powell out to save their asses, because they need somebody that's willing to turn the money printers back on. So it's a very it's a very interesting situation. And somebody's talking about CBDCs here. I'm going to get into some of this. At the end, I'm going to have just some general thoughts and a summary of what I think could be happening here. So USDC, we talked about that. USDC is a stable coin that's 100% collateralized with cash and US Treasuries. Okay, it's the apex predator. It's the guy at the top. I mean, it's the guy at the top of the food chain, USDC is, because it's closest. It's mostly collateralized by US Treasuries. Specifically, USDC is collateralized 77% with US Treasury bills and 23% with cash held at various institutions, including SVB. Last week, to reduce bank risk, USDC's issuers deposited $5.4 billion with BNY Mellon, a large and stable financial institution. Stable. However, $3.3 billion of USDC's cash reserves remained with SVB. As of Thursday, the issuer has initiated transfers of those funds to other banking partners, but they had not been settled as of close of business Friday. Now, guys, do you think that there is any coincidence that this happened on Friday, right when things have to shut down for the weekend? Major banking institutions. No, that was planned. They needed time to try to manage this crisis. Make no mistake about it. That's why that happened, by the way. So $3.3 billion of USDC cash reserves remain with SVB. Okay, and they had not been settled as of closed business on Friday. Despite this, the issuer remains confident in FDIC's management of Silicon Valley Bank's situation and stands ready to receive those funds. So now we're going to jump over to an official statement by our Circle guy. Let me find it. Yeah. So this was an official statement, circle.com here. All right. So, and they just kind of summarize. I'm going to talk about the bottom portion here, and you can go to circle.com/blog and you'll see this. So Circle says, we have reason to believe that under applicable FDIC policy, transfers initiated prior to a bank entering receivership would have otherwise been processed normally. In other words, the FDIC should allow transactions to settle in the ordinary course through the end of a bank's standard daily processing cycle until the FDIC takes control of the failed institution. So they're saying before everything shut down and got froze, there were some transfers that were pending, and they expect those to go through. What happens is when you have the ratio of deposits and the ratio of reserves become too untied and too untethered, the FDIC steps in and takes control of everything. This is what happens. FDIC is coming and taking control. So, moreover, Silicon Valley Bank has a strong franchise that's at the center of American entrepreneurship and technology industry growth. We are hopeful that the FDIC, as receiver, will seek a rapid purchase and assumption of franchise as rapid purchase and assumption of a franchise as strong as SVB's to ensure all depositors are made whole. Which, guys, like I said, probably is the reason the Federal Reserve is meeting, as per the legalese that we saw on law.cornell.edu. So there might be some buyers in the market for this, and they're going to be discussing that. However, it's also possible that SVB may not return 100%, and that any return might take some time as the FDIC issues IOUs and advance dividends to deposit holders. In such case, Circle, as required by law under stored money value transmission regulation, will stand behind USDC and cover any shortfall using corporate resources involving external capital if necessary. And that, my friends, is why I think, if we go back to the chart here, I'm going to go to share, and this is a 4-hour chart. I think that's why Circle came back up to about, what are we at? 99.4 cents. And the math kind of makes sense with this. The math makes sense because, again, they make a lot of money. They make billions of dollars a year. 1.5 billion, I think, was what I read. Billions of dollars a year through USDC. So, of course, they're only $3 billion down right now at this point, out of $44 billion that was backing the stable coins that they were issuing. So they're going to take some of their money, they're going to shore it up, they're going to do this and that. Now, here's an interesting question. If this is bouncing back, what is the situation with DAI? This Binance USD. Sorry. Let's find USD DAI. I'll just add it real quick. We'll use Coinbase. I'd probably use Link's oracles to find out what this prices are, but we'll just use this. 96. Still depegged. Now, why is this? It's because DAI uses a lot of their backing is with USDC, right? Right now, people, I think, are responding to the fact that USDC is going to make up for the shortfall. But because it's not made up yet, DAI is still depegged by about 4 cents. You know, one of the things that I was looking at when I was, and here it is. Sorry. One of the things that I was like, man, you know, the USDC is really big. I don't think this is going to be the thing that makes them fail. What did we learn from this whole thing? What we've learned is, what did we see the markets do? The markets, if we ran out of stable coins tomorrow and all the stable coins went to zero, everybody says the world's over. Guys, the world's not over. You're going to see what we saw happen. You're going to see a shift in liquidity from USDC. Let's just say you take Hex USDC, or you take, you know, Hedron or Texan or whatever the case may be. It's basically a kind of an impermanent loss situation. You still have the asset, but the value against the US dollar is wrecked. You're going to see capital flow into assets that people trust. We saw it, okay? We saw it with Hex. We saw it with Hex over the weekend, right? What else did we see? We saw it with Texan over the weekend, all right? What else did we see? Hell, we saw it with Bitcoin and Ethereum. We saw it with Bitcoin. Look at the pump. Bitcoin, okay? What else did we see here? Is there going to be a problem? Yes. If USDC went to zero, absolutely. But you got to understand that in terms of friction, the crypto markets, because it's a lot of it is trustless, there's a lot less monetary friction with this. So the markets will adapt and adjust. This is something that just isn't really possible in the centralized banking system because there's too many humans involved. We have the ability to adapt to these changes. I mean, dang, look at Ethereum. All right. Now, very interesting stuff here. I'm going to go to, let me go to main here real quick. Etherscan.io. I want to show you guys this. Gwei is real down. Gwei is down right now. And I think the price to do these transactions in Gwei is down because all eyes are on tomorrow. This is honestly what we have to worry about, folks. We have to worry about this contagion. Okay, in the traditional banking system. That's what we have to worry about here. Because regardless of the makeup and lipstick that this administration and the Federal Reserve and everybody put on this situation, guys, this is like a 160-pound kid squatting 225. He's like, oh, that was kind of hard. Okay. And then they put 2 more plates on. And he's like, okay, we're going up here. We're 310, 305. Okay, now he's going to break. He can barely stand up at this point. And then they put 2 more plates on. All right. That's kind of what these interest rate hikes are representing. And guys, they say that they're going to raise interest rate again. And they had this information last month and they didn't act on it. Conflict delayed is conflict multiplied. And I think that if we go to 50 or 75 basis points, dude, it's going to get weird. We got major banks failing, and nobody's making a big deal out of it. It's a major problem. This is the existential threat. This, guys, could be an opportunity for decentralized finance after surviving 2022 and after surviving this massive problem that we have now with the interest rate increases and the Federal Reserve trying to rug the economy. If DeFi is going to survive this, and it's going to be like, hey guys, we're still here. Uniswap didn't go under. Hex didn't go under. All these DeFi protocols did not go under. We're still here. And you guys are dealing with your crap. I think the chart that I just showed you, showing people de-risking into Ethereum, Bitcoin, Hex, and some of the big boys here, I think that's incredible. I think that's incredible for us. That might be some of the silver lining here. Let's check this out. Okay. Might have to change this here. Yeah, I might have to change it in the browser. This is interesting too. Is it gonna let me do it? Never gonna get it. Well, dang, man. All right, here's what well, I really want to show you guys this. I don't want to skimp on this one. Don't want to skimp. All right. This is what, all right, I'm just going to have to explain it. Sorry, guys. Can't get this daggone screen up. I don't want to download it and then add it and do all that crap. All right. Interest rate hikes lead to financial and banking crises and recessions. Let's go back to 1980. You look at 1980, the U.S. savings and loan crisis, the U.S. housing market bust, U.S. automotive industry crisis, and the Latin American debt crisis. This all began because back in 1977, the federal funds rate started increasing. The Federal Reserve bounced it all the way to 18%, and then it shot up to 22%. What happened right after that? Massive recession. This was about like 24-month recession. And then what happened? This is funny. Right after that, after they started decreasing all the way down to really 1993, we had 3 more as things were decreasing because it's a lagging effect. The Continental Illinois bank failure, the U.S. savings and loans crisis, real estate downturn back in the 1980s, that happened as well. So what you're seeing is the federal funds rate over time continues to decrease. And they're using these tools as a way to be able to crush the economy. You look back in the 90s when they started raising interest rates in about 1994, and then they had a spike right near 2000, which was the tech bubble bust. Right before that, interest rates were going up. They're trying to get the economy under control. Bam, recession. That's what happened here. Let's go back to 2007, 2008. They started raising interest rates in about middle of 2004. Right? At the height of that, after it stopped and they started decreasing, that's when you had the recession. Okay? Now what are we looking at? This is going to be the everything bubble, folks. The bust. Emerging markets wrecked. Energy junk bonds. U.S. stock market bubble. Tech startups. Auto loan bubble. Much, much more is to come. They haven't paused yet. You guys got to understand that these recessions come after the pause. In some cases, and if we look at history, the average is about 18 months after we start decreasing interest rates. Or from the first time that they actually started increasing, about 18 months later. So you actually see a rally and a pump while these things are increasing. It's because these interest rate hikes are actually, they actually show up in the economy lagging in probably 3 to 4 months. So meaning that maybe December, we're starting to see the effects of the December interest rate hikes right now here in March. The big problem are these banks that the USDC and a lot of these companies hold all of their cash reserves in. If they fail, it fails with it and crypto gets wrecked. This is why we have to find a way to move away from the traditional finance system, because it is nothing but cancer. If you can't see that now, guys, I don't know what to tell you. It's absolute cancer. The system that can adapt best to this is actually cryptocurrency. Couple other things to talk about here. Coming up next week, the latest inflation report. February retail sales and consumer sentiment reports come out. Uh-oh. Combined with what's happening tomorrow with the Federal Reserve, it could get weird, folks. What if all this news isn't that good? What if it's bad? Then you're going to have issues. This is very interesting to see what happens this week. We're going to receive the latest inflation readings next week, starting with the CPI index report for February. followed by the Producer Price Index, the PPI, on Wednesday. Also Wednesday, the U.S. Census Bureau will release the latest retail sales figures, indicating whether consumer spending held up last month. And guys, if it's higher than expected, the Federal Reserve is just going to be like, oh my gosh, what do we got to do here, man? We just got to shut everything down. Either that or we got to print money. What do we do? Kill a bunch of people or print a bunch of money and then kill a bunch of people in 20 years or 10 years for the next massive bubble? All right. Updates on the housing market will include building permits and housing starts for February, along with the NAHB's housing market index. On Friday, we're going to get the latest industrial production figures for the previous month, along with the consumer sentiment index, MCSI. Here's what's interesting. Asset classes by year to date, and they don't talk about DeFi or Ethereum, but out of Bitcoin stocks, high yield corporate bonds, dollar, cash, all that, and I'll actually share this with you guys. And I'll zoom in here. You guys see this? Hold on. Whoop. There it is. Asset classes by year-to-date total returns, and they still want to trash cryptocurrency. Bitcoin's up 33.6%. Stocks 4.7%. High-yield corporate bonds 2.3%. The dollar's up 2.1%. That's because they're rugging the economy. When you rug the economy, the dollar gets stronger, because there's less dollars to go around. Cash 0.7%. Gold down, government bonds down, commodities down, oil down in a major way. It's gonna get weird. All right, let's look at chat. You guys have been blowing this damn thing up. Look at chat real quick. All right. Try to find some questions. If you guys have questions, let me know. Funkmaster Hex towards Johnny Crypto Stylist Bugs. What's up? Memorable weekend. Hex Monkey says, so while SVB is hosed, Circle USDC will be fine as early as tomorrow. Yes, I think so. They've got the money to cover it this time. Hex hitting new local high. Yeah, I love that Hex is running. It's because, guys, people have confidence. It's all about confidence. It's all it's ever been about. They've got confidence in Hex. Yeah, so anyone else having trouble viewing Texan token price on Nomics? So it looks like, I'm not for sure. I've emailed the owners of Nomics. I'm going to start blowing them up on Twitter if I don't hear back. But there is no price listing for Texan now. And I think that might have been done manually. It could have been done manually. I don't know for sure. If you guys want to get information, you go to Dex Screener, you can go to Uniswap, you can also go to CoinGecko, go to CoinMarketCap. But I haven't seen many updates for Nomics, so they might not be on top of it. I don't know. MT Coiner. David Lee says the West is also a demographic time bomb for the social entitlement progress they've added for decades to get elected. You're right about that. It's only going to get worse. Tether King of Stables. Come on, Mike. Come on. There it is. So here's the thing with Tether, guys. If you guys have actually, everybody's worried about Tether because there's no official audit of Tether. And they say, yeah, there is, Rags. There's an audit. Go read it. Go read the second or third page of that, where they say, hey, this is what they gave us access to, and this is what we could verify. But everything else, the next page that they're talking about, they wrote the next page. We have not verified that because they wouldn't allow us to. That's why people are worried about Tether. Fleur Emmaus, what's up? What's up? Can't sell or buy USDC on Coinbase, but can use the card with it. Yeah, so you can actually still use USDC on chain. You just can't swap it out for USDC, which should open up tomorrow. Now, they might not open up full throttle tomorrow because people are so panicked. They might, they might just let it out slowly over a week or two. So be prepared for that. And quite frankly, just be careful, guys. It's back up to peg. So if you wanted to, some people might swap it out for a different asset and then cash out that way, Ethereum or whatever the case may be. Get food, get water now. Northern Rock collapsed in 2007 UK. It was crazy. Morning, Mr. Rags. Cool, cool, cool. They can't resist a good crisis they created to centralize more power and wealth. Guys, if you haven't studied history, that's the name of the game. Give us your liberty, give us your power so we can save you. And then when everything gets back to normal, we'll give it back to you. Psych. Psych. I haven't said psych since 8th grade. That's how that works. It's the same story every time, guys. This is a repeating pattern. Test. Okay. Here's some points I want to make. Yeah, let's talk about the CBDC stuff, guys. Let me ask you this. Paxos stablecoin, USDC stablecoin, UST Terra, algorithmic stablecoin kind of hybrid. They had Bitcoin to short up, but they never put it in the system, so they screwed that up. Understand something. Make no mistake about this. They don't want stablecoins. They do not want retail banking, because retail banking represents lack of control for them. When you understand what direction and what trajectory that society and the world is going on right now, it's that of control. It is not that of liberty. It is that of control. I don't think they like retail banking. I think they want the government to control everything. Don't think that they like crypto in any form. They want the government to control everything. They like their form of crypto. They like CBDCs. Are they setting the stage to absolutely destroy people? I mean, think about all the billions of dollars, all the thousands or hundreds of thousands of jobs, all the small businesses that have been affected, all the destruction that they have put on society in the past 3 years here, folks. And this is what they're going after. There are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks when decades happen. Vladimir Lenin, 1870 to 1924, Soviet revolutionary leader. This is what it's all about. There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks when decades happen. And that is what has happened in the past 3 years. I mean, they were able to centralize and control so many entities and destroy competition. If you don't think that this is a coordinated effort from many, many different agencies in many, many different countries to destroy cryptocurrency and destroy the private sector, then you're absolutely nuts. Actually, you're not nuts. You're just uninformed. That's what this is. Let's talk about a couple things. CBDC era is being ushered in right now. They are setting the stage for this. We started talking about this about 24 months ago. I said, guys, this is what's going to happen. Let no good crisis go to waste. They are going to attack stables. They are going to attack these centralized banking agencies or banking entities with crypto. Why are they going to do that? It's because they can say, look at all those bad things out here and look what we can provide you. Look at this incredible CBDC. Look how stable this is. Look how great this is. Look at all that bad stuff out there, even though they're causing these issues. This is all part of the plan. Now, I'm not saying that every congressperson has some type of playbook that's written down saying on this date, this is going to happen, this date, this is going to happen. That's not how that works. These are complex things. But the general idea and the small decisions that are made every single day, they add up over time by people in power, and that's what we're seeing right now. This is Operation Choke Point. They wanted Silvergate to fail. Absolutely, they wanted Silvergate to fail. If you go back in Richard's, some of Richard's old videos, he's on stage one time, and I think he's in I don't know, he's maybe in Switzerland or something. He starts talking about crypto Darwinism, survival of the fittest. And he basically makes the point, he's like, hey, if there's stuff out there that's going to wreck people, it might be best that the industry gang up on them and put them out of business. That's exactly what banks do. Okay, it's banking Darwinism here. That's what this is. Simplicity requires great experience and high intelligence. It's a beautiful thing, a bit like Hex, hashtag Hex. Crypto truth, like and share. What dev would work on a CBDC? Only the desperate rubbish devs. That should end well. People that don't know anything about our flavor of cryptocurrency, folks. We did a stream the other day, and I just Googled top crypto-friendly cities, and they all happen to be left-leaning, massively left-leaning cities. One of which is London. Guys, tell me, all you guys here in London, we've covered this quite a bit. How many people in London feel like they're free? You guys like those CCTVs? You like those districts? You like having to ask permission to cross into other districts in the Oxford area? You guys like that? Why do you think that the left-leaning media identifies places like Chicago and Los Angeles and New York City and places like London and places like Sydney is the best crypto places in the world? It's because those are the places that you're going to have the social credit scores. Those are the places that they're going to introduce these CBDCs first, because it's the least amount of resistance. And then it's going to build out from there. You have a bunch of people who have a lot of influence that don't have any type of testicular fortitude that won't push back on it. And there's tipping points that are crossed time and time again. This is all part of the plan. AJ Rip City Hex. Guys, I mean, at this point, it's not even up for debate, man. Like, there are no conspiracy theories anymore. It's all come to fruition, like in the past 3 years. The media is also guided by the same organizations. Yes, I live in London. Cameras everywhere. How do you feel about that? Cameras everywhere, folks. What have you done wrong? CBDC spreadsheet, tech not immutable, no more middlemen. T-Time says, I'm in FI, but you're so right, FL. My family's in Oxford, and it's getting terrible. Do you guys know about that? Most of you don't know about that. I got 229 viewers here right now. You guys know what's happening in Oxford? You have to seek permission. You have to seek permission to cross into another district, another city, another area. You get so many per year, and then after that, they lock you down. Why? To make sure that the climate change doesn't happen. You guys feeling good about that? You don't have to wear a face mask riding a bus. Get your facts straight, somebody says. I didn't say that. People are standing up again. Yeah. Of course they are, Mr. Rafferty says. All right. Guys, I just want to thank you. For some of you, for many of you, this is probably your first time in this stream. This is the type of stuff that we like to talk about all the time. This is important stuff here. I like to talk about the stuff that most people are afraid to get into. Now, I'm not saying I'm 100% perfect. There's probably been stuff that I've said here that could be correctable, or corrected rather. Correct me. That's fine. I'm up for a conversation. This is the type of stuff that we need to talk about. The reason that they shut down free speech, the reason that they shut down movement, these are the liberties that they have to take away so they can control you. And if you're not passing ideas from human to human, to brain, there's nothing that can be questioned. And if there's nothing that can be questioned, there's only one place where you're getting your information from. That turns into something nasty really, really, really quick. I was in Seattle. They threaten to assault you if you don't wear a mask on the train. Yeah. Who are the real fascists? In order to normalize the militarized mind. Hunger Games underway. There's a camera in everyone's back pocket too. That's true. And a lot is due to the students, because there's hundreds of colleges in Oxford and thousands of students coming from all over the world and going. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is a quick reminder.
Rags to riches. Do not like, comment, or subscribe.
I'm out of here. Be good, guys.